you're interested in putting an extended mag release button on your pistol, there's a few things that you might want to know beforehand. So let's discuss the issues that you may have, because like a lot of 1911 parts, it's almost a drop-in part some of the time. So let's start with the easiest example. This is a Rock Island, and it's a very simple install as long as your mag catch is already drilled and tapped, which we offer that service here. But this is a Rock Island with our extended magazine release button on it, and you can see that the grip panel has been cut out, and that's to make room for the button to have enough travel. So that's a pretty easy modification. You just take a Dremel or a file or some sandpaper in your finger, and you can easily cut that grip out. From there, it can get a little bit more complicated, and here's why. The Staccato and a lot of other grips, especially the polymer grips, they make it a little bit more interesting. This right here is lower than this grip panel area up here. There's no grip panel here, but where the grip panel would be. So what happens is you run out of travel and the button hangs over this high part, and you bottom out before you have enough travel to release your mag. So our Gen 2 mag button has just come out, and I'll show you the difference because we've added a feature that to help with the ease of install on polymer grip guns, and really it's an improvement all around. So I'll bring you in close here, and you see this angle. There's an angle on the underside here. And that angle creates clearance so that that mag release button has enough travel to release the magazine. Another issue you may have is that the magazine release is just too long, that when you add a button on top of it, you accidentally drop your magazine hitting it with your weak hand. If your mag button sticks out away from the gun too far, your weak hand comes in and you'll drop the magazine on accident. That's no good. So another common modification you can do is to shorten your magazine release, and you can just file it down, belt sander. It's not scientific. You just make it shorter so it's closer to the gun, and that way, this is actually my Cobra pistol here. That way you minimize the distance that this magazine release button sticks up from the side of the gun. Now, no matter what you do, you are going to be adding thickness there. It's a larger button, so you will be more prone to hitting it with your weak hand. And that all just comes down to the shape of your hands and how you grip the gun. Some people can have the biggest mag buttons you've ever seen on there. I mean, they're huge. It's like a Shaquille O'Neal's tennis shoe or something on there. And I would hit that every time, knocking mags out all the time. So a really low profile button is best for me, and I don't have any issues as long as I shorten my mag catch, and then use this small of a button. This is a great size button. Now the good news is, if you have a Gen 1 where it doesn't have that angle on the underside to make room for the polymer grips like the Prodigies and Staccatos, it's a real simple fix. You can just take a hand file, and it really is this fast. And I've just updated my mag catch to a Gen 2 by putting a relief cut in here. Now, one thing you want to watch out for if you're doing this, you don't want to file this to a point where this is a sharp edge. You don't want any sharp edges on this. You cut yourself or it's uncomfortable. So make sure there's enough meat there that's not sharp. But a simple, 5, 6, 7 strokes of the file, and you're probably going to be golden. And if you have a colored mag catch button, that bare aluminum, it's not going to rust, and it's going to be on the back side of the gun. So depending on how particular you are with your firearms, you could just hit that with some spray paint or some aluminum black, but nobody's ever going to know it. It's on the back side of the button. And that's how you update a Gen 1 to a Gen 2. So if you order our mag catch button, it will come with the button and 2 screws. There's a 540 and a 440 screw in there. And it's just kind of a mixture. Some manufacturers drill and tap to a 440, some use a 540. I prefer a 540. It's just beefier. And, I prefer overbuilt things. A 540 tap is more difficult to break than a 440 tap. So that's the reason I prefer the 540. They function the same, But 2 screws in the button is what you'll get when you order a button from us. So to install a button, I recommend degreasing it. Degrease the screw itself, and then make sure your mag catch is clean. And then if you're using Loctite brand, the blue Loctite is no heat required to break free. And most of the time that's true. Don't use red here because that will require a blowtorch to break free. But so when I'm setting my button up, depending on the model of gun you have, if you cinch it down, sometimes you kind of have to start your button higher than you want, and as you cinch it, it will pull it down into the correct position. On this Cobra here, it's pretty solid. It's not moving around a lot. And I prefer mine with a slight up angle, because when I grip the pistol, my thumb isn't coming in at a direct 90 degrees. It's actually coming up from up top. See if I can get you that on camera. My thumb isn't down here coming in straight sideways 90 degrees. It's actually higher, so it's coming down. So I kind of try to match the angle at which my thumb just naturally comes down to press the button. And then to check it, you put a mag in and make sure it drops free. See if I've got a mag here. Now to check that your mag button will function properly, put a mag in and see if it drops free. Now, I want to slowly press this mag button in and take note of when that magazine releases. And as that magazine releases, I still have about another 150 thousandths of travel to go. So that's a nice cushion there. You don't want the mag to release right as the button bottoms out. You've overcut your mag catch if that's the case. You want a little bit of room in there. You don't want parts on the edge. So after that mag drops, take note of how much daylight is in between the mag catch button and the grip, and there should be a crack of daylight in there. Just give that a little bit extra. If you have a staccato, I have noticed that the mag button, the Gen 1 mag buttons, do work, but they do not have much clearance after that mag is released. So I wouldn't feel comfortable putting a Gen 1 on a staccato unmodified. Like it's just on the edge. If you get any kind of dirt or pocket lint there, it may not have enough travel to release the mag. So just convert it to a Gen 2 or order a Gen 2 from us, and it should work just dandy. So a few other things about mag catch buttons. Some of them, I believe Wilson Combat on their single stacks has one that locks in, and they have a specifically designed mag catch to go with their mag catch button, and it keeps it from rotating, which is a great design. It's very solid. The downside of that one would be you cannot adjust the angle of the button. This one, our mag catch, it can be spun 360 degrees. There's no interface. It's just a flat surface. So you could rotate this button any orientation you want. Another common question is, do you push? You can push on this angled part here, or do you have to push still on the main part of the mag catch? And yes, you can push on the very tip and still activate the mag catch. So this really helps. Our mag catch comes back towards the palm rather than just out. So if you have short thumbs, you don't have to reach all the way to the original button or the original mag catch. Now that can depend on your gun. If it's really tight tolerances in there, or if it's just not slick, say you've Cerakoted it, the further away you get from pushing straight down on that button, the more difficult it's going to be. If this lever was extended out here, you'd have a hard time depressing that button. So yes, you can drop the mag with working the very tip of it here, but that's going to vary gun to gun on how easily that's accomplished. If you have a brand new staccato, which this is right here, it's very doable. I don't have an issue hitting that at all, using the very tip of the button. It's not as slick as the aluminum grip, but that could just be because it's not broke in very well. It's a brand new gun. Here's kind of an interesting problem that I've seen happen. People bring in their pistol and they'll say that the mag catch or the mag button, whatever, it's a mag release, it's a mag catch, depending on which operation it's doing. It's either catching the mag, holding it in the gun, or it's releasing the mag out of the gun. Same difference. So a common problem is people will think that their gun is not dropping mags adequately, and then, there's something wrong with my mag catch. I need a lighter spring because the mags aren't falling freely. Actually, what's happening in these specific examples, they're over pushing. You can over push your mag catch, and this left side of the mag catch is being pushed so far in that it's binding up the magazine inside the grip. And so a remedy for that is a stronger mag catch spring. When you make this more difficult to press in, you're not going to bottom that out as easy, and it's going to keep your mag from binding up in the grip. So if you're over pushing, but you can test that by pushing in really hard and then seeing if there's any resistance to that magazine. If there's any resistance at all with that mag button pressed all the way in, if there's any resistance, it's probably an over push problem. And if you want to play with different spring weights, Wolf Spring Company, they have a variety pack of springs all the way from like standard, like all 1 through 5, I think is what it is. So you can play with different weight springs and tune it up how you like it. Just make sure that it functions and you're not over pushing, because no matter how comfortable it is, it still has to work. Now the good news is, if you spend the $30 to buy the button, you put it on the gun and you don't like it, you can always just take it off. You haven't messed up the gun at all. The mag catch button works perfectly fine whether it's drilled and tapped with a button or without a button. All of our Cobras come drilled and tapped, and you can add a button to them. They are a little bit longer than I would want for my specific build, so that's why I shortened mine and then put my button on. But if you want to take the button off, it doesn't affect the gun at all. It's still completely functional. It doesn't hurt a thing. So that's a lot of info about mag buttons. If you have any more questions, something I didn't cover, drop it down in the comments and we'll try to help you out.